BMW Championship comes down to the wire. Rory McIlroy falls just short. A 5-shot lead disappeared in less than 3 hours. One of the most popular players in the sport pulled level with the leader on the back 9. And in the end, a single bunker shot on the 17th hole decided who would walk away with the trophy. This is exactly what unfolded on the final day of the 2026 BMW Championship, and it is a finish that playoff golf fans will be talking about for a long time. The 2026 BMW Championship delivered one of the most dramatic final rounds of the PGA Tour playoff season at Bellerive Country Club in St. Louis, Missouri. Wyndham Clark entered Sunday with a commanding 5-shot lead, but by the back 9, that cushion had all but disappeared as Rory McIlroy clawed his way back into contention. Wyndham Clark had built his advantage over 3 rounds, and heading into the final day, the tournament appeared to be his to lose. That is nearly what happened. Clark bogeyed the opening hole at Bellerive for the second straight day, and moments later, Rory McIlroy connected on a birdie putt. That 2-shot swing set the tone for what would become a tense battle between the 6-time major champion and the reigning U.S. Open winner. The contrast between the two players was visible even before the round started. McIlroy and Clark set up on opposite ends of Bellerive Country Club's driving range ahead of the final round. McIlroy unleashed booming drives on repeat, touching 189 mph ball speed on command, while Clark's driver was cruising at 164 mph on the other end, working on a fairway finder drill. The distance between them on the range mirrored the strategic divide in how each man approached the day. McIlroy required heroics to chase down Clark, who was simply trying to protect a 5-shot lead. Clark bogeyed 3 of his first 10 holes on Sunday, opening the door for McIlroy and a chasing pack that included Patrick Cantlay and Gary Woodland. Cantlay, who had shared the lead for a brief moment after Clark's advantage evaporated through 54 holes, emerged as a serious threat during the middle rounds. Gary Woodland also made a push, pulling within 1 shot of the lead at one stage of the final round. McIlroy's charge did not happen in isolation. He had opened the tournament with rounds of 64 and 69, before firing a 5-under 65 on Saturday to move into a tie for second place at 12 under par. Reflecting on his position after the third round, McIlroy said, "I think I needed to be patient the last 3 days, because my game it's been good in parts, but then it's been a struggle in other ways." His driver had been a persistent issue throughout the week. On Saturday, McIlroy didn't hit a fairway until the 10th hole, yet he still managed to play that stretch 1 under par. With more control off the tee on the back 9, he shot 4 under over his closing holes to move into Sunday's final pairing alongside Clark. Discussing the adjustments to his swing, McIlroy said, "I feel like the swing syncs up better and matches up when I try to hit that cut off the tee." On Sunday, McIlroy was shaky on the front 9 but recovered by making birdies on the 8th and 9th holes to turn under par. He continued his push into the back 9, making a 2-putt birdie at the 8th and adding another gain shortly after. McIlroy failed to get up and down to save par at the 4th hole, but he holed from 7 feet to avoid back-to-back bogeys, keeping his round from unraveling early. Elsewhere on the course, Clark bogeyed the par 3 6th after a clunky chip from just off the green, adding to the pressure building against him. The turning point came around the turn. McIlroy found 3 birdies in a 4-hole stretch, pulling him level with Clark heading into the closing stretch of the round. McIlroy got a chance to share the lead outright with a birdie at the 11th hole, which came after Clark added a 3rd bogey to his scorecard on the previous hole. At that moment, the tournament had become a genuine 2-man contest between the sport's most popular player and the man trying to defend his position at the top of the leaderboard. That birdie at the 11th proved to be McIlroy's final birdie of the round, much to the disappointment of the gallery that had rallied behind him throughout the back 9. McIlroy pulled even with Clark by the 11th hole, but failed to secure the 1 extra birdie needed to nudge himself in front, and from there, the door began to close. The tournament turned decisively on the par 5 17th hole, where McIlroy missed the fairway and hit his second shot into a fairway bunker while attempting to lay up. His next shot found the greenside bunker, which led directly to a bogey that proved costly in the final standings. He finished his round with a 69, placing him in a solo third at 13 under par for the tournament. Clark, meanwhile, had been far from flawless during the middle of his round, but he found his form exactly when it mattered most. He was birdie-free during the final day until he edged ahead with a 15-footer at the 16th hole, immediately followed by another birdie at the par 5 17th. Clark knocked down birdies at each of the final 3 holes to close out the tournament, delivering a closing even par 70 that was enough to secure the win at 17 under par. It marked his third PGA Tour victory of the season, following wins at the CJ Cup, Byron Nelson, and the US Open. The margin of victory ended up being 3 shots, a scoreline that undersells just how close the tournament had been through the middle of the final round. McIlroy admitted afterward, "I always felt like I needed to just get my nose ahead to really try to put the pressure on Wyndham, and I couldn't." It was a rare moment of a chasing player getting within a putt of the lead against Clark, only to see the door close in the closing holes. Patrick Cantlay delivered one of the more notable performances of the week given where he stood entering the tournament. He had come into the BMW Championship ranked number 43 in the FedEx Cup standings, a position that put his place in the following week's Tour Championship in serious jeopardy. Cantlay bounced back from a bogey with a birdie 4 times during his final round, and he closed with 3 straight birdies for a 68 to finish alone in second place. That result vaulted him into the top 30 of the FedEx Cup, securing his spot in the season-ending event at East Lake in Atlanta. Speaking about his form heading into the final playoff event, Cantlay said, "I'm coming to a golf course that I played really well at next week." He added, "So, I'm really pleased with where my game is at, and I think I'm trending in the right direction." Cantlay won at East Lake in 2021, giving him a personal history of success at the venue that will host the FedEx Cup finale. Gary Woodland also moved into the top 30 of the FedEx Cup standings with his performance at Bellerive, joining Cantlay among the players who secured their place in the Tour Championship field through their play in St. Louis. Earlier in the final round, Woodland had made 3 birdies in his first 5 holes to pull within 2 shots of the lead, before inexplicably topping his tee shot into the water at the 9th hole, a mistake that halted his momentum at a critical stage. Woodland made a 2-putt birdie at the 8th just before that mistake, briefly putting even more pressure on the players ahead of him. After the round, Clark reflected on what the week meant for his standing among the sport's elite. He said, "I think it shows that I'm one of the best players in the world," when asked what a performance like this proves to himself. Clark also revealed a comment from a friend after the round, sharing with reporters, "Darth Vader had more fun," a line he delivered with a smile as he described the pressure of trying to protect his lead with the gallery firmly behind his opponent. Clark has now found himself in this exact position more than once in 2026. Earlier in the year, he held a lead over Scottie Scheffler in the final group of the US Open, and in both instances, his advantage nearly slipped away while the crowd's support clearly favored the player chasing him. Clark addressed that dynamic directly, saying, "I've kind of been the underdog in all of my wins." He continued, "I know everyone maybe gives me a hard time and roots for other people." Despite the pressure, Clark delivered when it counted, including a 5-iron approach that set up his go-ahead birdie late in the round. That shot, combined with 2 additional birdies down the stretch, allowed him to salvage an even par 70 and complete a 3-shot victory, his 3rd title of the season. For McIlroy, the finish continued a pattern that has defined stretches of his 2026 season. He has shown a consistent ability to turn around his form quickly, even after difficult results in the tournaments immediately prior. This has happened before. In 2024, McIlroy struggled at the FedEx St. Jude Championship, only to contend the following week at the BMW Championship. A similar pattern played out this year as well, as McIlroy arrived in St. Louis a week after a difficult showing in Memphis and immediately found himself in contention at Bellerive. An even more striking example of his ability to recover occurred earlier in the year at the Masters. McIlroy lost his feel with the driver during the 3rd round of the tournament. Afterward, he went to the practice range with his caddy, Harry Diamond, and worked deep into the night trying to find a fix. The following day, McIlroy won his 2nd Masters title. That turnaround has become part of the broader narrative around his game in 2026, one defined by inconsistency within rounds but an ability to recover at pivotal moments. At Bellerive, McIlroy's issues throughout the week were similarly uneven. His driver caused him problems over the weekend, while his iron play remained solid apart from Friday's round, and his putter went cold specifically on Sunday, the day it mattered most. Despite those inconsistencies, he still managed to finish inside the top 3 of a major PGA Tour playoff event. Speaking about the week as a whole, McIlroy said, "It's nice to know even when I'm not super happy with everything I can still, piece it together and get it around and still give myself a chance to win tournaments." He also offered a more detailed account of his final round performance, saying, "But, yeah, I hit it well on the back 9. I gave myself plenty of chances. I just couldn't get a putt to drop there those final few holes." That comment captured the core issue of his Sunday round. The ball striking was strong enough to contend, but the putts that would have applied maximum pressure on Clark simply did not fall at the right moments. The bunker shot on the 17th hole stood out as the single moment that separated McIlroy from a genuine chance at the title. Up until that point, he had matched Clark's shot for shot on the back 9, turning a 5-shot deficit into a tie. The layup that found sand, followed by the recovery shot that found more sand, turned a hole he needed to play conservatively into the round's only bogey over that stretch, and it arrived at the exact moment Clark was preparing his own closing surge. The result places McIlroy in a position of cautious optimism heading into the Tour Championship at East Lake. As the world number 2 entering the week, his performance at Bellerive reinforced that his game, despite ongoing inconsistencies with the driver and putter at different points in the tournament, remains capable of contending against the top players on tour. He will now shift his focus to the season-ending event in Atlanta, where the FedEx Cup will be decided among the top finishers from the BMW Championship standings. For Clark, the victory adds to a season that has already included 2 of the sport's most significant titles. Winning the BMW Championship by holding off a charge from McIlroy in front of a crowd that was clearly rooting against him adds another data point to a year in which he has repeatedly delivered under pressure, even while acknowledging his own recognition of playing the role of underdog in the public's eyes. The final leaderboard at Bellerive told the story of a tournament that shifted dramatically over the course of just 18 holes. Clark started the day 5 shots clear of the field and nearly saw that lead vanish entirely, only to close with 3 consecutive birdies to secure his margin. McIlroy finished third at 13 under, Cantlay finished runner-up at a score that secured his Tour Championship spot after entering the week ranked outside the top 30, and Woodland moved into qualifying position as well. 3 spots to the season-ending Tour Championship changed hands over the course of the final round, underscoring just how much was at stake in the closing holes at Bellerive Country Club.